It's exactly 9:15. Welcome back. This is News and Views on Salam Media. And of course, this is the time where we welcome our Polokwane listeners to the program. They are on One Nation FM. Still to come in this hour, we are going to be talking to Belinda now regarding cystic fibrosis. And this is a big court battle that's going to be playing out or has started playing out against Big Pharma. So we look at that story in a little while. We will also talk with Donovan Williams. He's an international relations expert, and we're going to be looking at the second anniversary of the Ukrainian invasion by Russia. But first up, a new kid on the block, and that, of course, is you, Fadiel Adams. We're going to talk about the National Colored Congress. You are the president of the NCC, and of course, you are saying that you want to build a brighter future for South African colored people come the forthcoming elections, elections 2024. So, Assalamu alaikum to you, Fadiel. Welcome to the program.
Alaikum salam and shukran for giving us the airtime. You are very faint, I must say.
Can you not hear me? I
I
think
can
it's,
just about hear you.
I'm so sorry, but I think it's the networks. Let's see if our technical producer can work some magic on the controls. Can you hear me now?
I'm going to put it on the loudspeaker. It should make it a little bit louder, but then you're going to have to forgive me for this distortion on my side. But I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, fine. My controller is telling me that I do apologize, but it seems as if the problem is with your phone. So let's see how we can proceed with this interview. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Fadil, I seem to think that I have spoken with you before. Um, how long is your party in existence? About a year or 2 years?
We've just gone past 2 years. We're approaching our third birthday now.
Okay, so I am correct in thinking that we have talked before. Tell us about the thinking behind the National Colored Congress. And because you are now entering your third year as a political party, are you pleased to see the progress your party is making and the support you're getting from the colored community?
100%. This party is formed out of the colored frustration. You know, a full generation of the new dispensation has brought the colored community nothing. Colored people are always being pushed to the sidelines, always being pushed to the back of the line, whether it be for work opportunities, whether it be for bursaries, whether it be for state aid. You know, sad fact, in the new South Africa, if I achieve like a Benny McCarthy, like a Wade Fanike, like a Tyler, I'm black. If I give government assistance, I'm colored. You know, the national question is yet to be answered. Where do the colored people fit into the new dispensation? We still don't have an answer forthcoming. With a genocide on our doorsteps, and trust me when I tell you, no one supports the Palestinian cause more than I do, but there's a genocide happening on the Cape Flats of 3,500 boys being killed year on year for the last 18 years, and nobody says anything about this. It was time for colored people to stand up because this state has stripped us of everything for our ability to think for ourselves. And here we are. We are very pleased with the way this party is going. Remember, we were 7 months old when we contested our first LGE with a budget of 62,000 rand. We won 8 seats with it. I think we really damaged the Democratic Alliance in the election that's coming.
Okay, and that's for an interesting discussion, isn't it? Because I've been repeatedly raising the issue regarding the Democratic Party in the Western Cape boasting about their service delivery track record. But other people are saying, the working class people are saying, but that's not right. There's discrimination, outright discrimination happening in the Western Cape. The rich people are being given the services. They're living in very posh upmarket suburbs. But the people on the Cape Flats, the poorest of the poor and the working class, are the ones who are suffering. There's absolutely no service delivery. They're being exploited regarding wages, etc. is concerned. Their condition and situation has not improved at all. Would I be spot on with that comment?
I've got nothing to add to the comment. You are so right. As a matter of fact, I would suggest to the DA that they should come out, take a motion to rename the Western Cape Orania because it's what they have. That's what they've done. You know, it's a tale of two cities. Half
Right.
the city, beautiful, affluent, clean, plush, safe. The other half of the city, filthy. It's a murder zone. It's like stepping into a scene of Mad Max at night. But this is not the part that the DA allows you to see. That's not the part that gets publicized. The sick thing about the tale of two cities is that half of the city, the better half, is occupied by 6% of the population. The rest of us live in overcrowded slums. That's what the DA doesn't say. They speak about clean audits. Ma'am, I swear to you this morning, I've got a document right next to me, which is going to tear up any notion of a clean audit in the city of Cape Town. These people are as scallum as the ANC. They are just much better at it, and much better at it because they've had this. That's the only reason. They've never been caught. They've never been in court until the NCC came along. Remember, the Democratic Alliance has been our government in the Western Cape for 18 years. In 18 years, they've never been rightfully accused of stealing a cent. And here come the new kids on the block, as you rightly say, and now they find themselves in the dock for 500 million rand.
Okay, so Fadiel, what's your manifesto looking like? And will you be able to deliver? What have you delivered up to now? Let's look at the current, the manifesto going into the elections 2024. And what does your support base look like as well?
Let me put it to you like this. In terms of deliverance, I don't think anybody on the stream right now would argue that colored people are underemployed in the Western Cape. As a clear majority, we are not getting the majority of job opportunities. So when we walk into businesses and found out that there was discrimination against our kids, that too few colored people were working in businesses, simply shut them down. They can reopen when they employ our kids as well.
Fadiel, here is the cruncher of a question. We do know that oftentimes parties and governments talk about demographics, and that they would then argue with you and suggest that because of the demographics, there are more African people in the Western Cape now because they've migrated to the Western Cape over time, obviously, for better opportunities and so forth. And they have now outnumbered the colored population in the Western Cape. I mean, the Western Cape was mainly colored back in the day, but the demographics have changed since, and they could argue that with you. Do you agree with that notion?
In 1994, colored people were 71% of the province. At 71% of the province, the discrimination started. We are now 54%. We are still the majority. There's no argument about that. That's the latest census speaking. So when I say to you that the discrimination started in 94 already, we then have a clear-cut case of asking for restorative action, do we not?
Mm-hmm.
You see, this migration is going to be the end of this province. I'll tell you why. And if it makes me sound racist, please understand the context. If I look at the Cape Townian issue, our roads, our drainage systems, our infrastructure, it was designed for, I think, about 4 million people. Right now, we're sitting on close to 6 million people. And that's not counting the illegal foreigners because they can't be accounted for. You want to know why when you open your back door, you got sewage streaming in your backyard? Because it wasn't meant to accommodate an additional 2 million people, not in that space of time. So the compromises on our lifestyle, on our life standards that had to be made to carry this influx, I think it's out of hand. The colored people are not responsible for the sins of apartheid, but the taxes for apartheid seem to be drawn from the colored community. White South Africa has not suffered. Nothing has changed for white people in this country. But for the colored people, we might as well be living somewhere up in North Africa and being, in refugee status. That's how bad it is.
So, regarding the National Coloured Congress, you are promising to build a better future for South Africa. I'm looking at issues around which you've mentioned twice already, and we in the rest of South Africa are very aware of the situation. That Cape Town is the gangsters, it's the capital of gangsterism and drugs. Um, Obviously, people want to hear that that needs to be eradicated, and how. Would you say that, what will come first, the chicken or the egg? Do you believe that if you are able to, to employ, firstly, to educate and take youth off street corners, educate them and get them good jobs, that will start eating away at gangsterism and drugs. It's really a chicken and egg situation, is it not?
No, but that's as logical as it gets. If you give a young boy a job before the gang gives him a job,
Yeah,
you're saving a life. It's as
absolutely.
logical as you're going to get. But the comparison between gangsterism and unemployment is there for all. The link between drugs and poverty is there for all to see. It's there. It's not even questionable. So what we're asking the state is, why are you so desperate to keep colored people unemployed and poor? It's the driver to gangsterism and drugs is our actual government. Now let me shock you when I tell you something. I told you about us closing businesses to force them to employ colored people?
Hmm.
Do you know that when this method was so successful that we were getting thousands of colored people into formal, dignified work? Do you know that the mayor in the city of Cape Town took rates money to take us to court to stop us from doing it?
Based on what?
Ask him. You have to ask him why he did it. You see, they know that we don't have the money to defend these court actions. We don't. We don't 100,000 rand to go to court. We're the poorest party in the country. So all we had to do is concede and hope that the judge didn't award costs as well, because that would have left us with 100,000 rand bill that we didn't have. That was really between a rock and a hard place. But ask yourself this question. If all of South Africa can agree, even the ANC can admit that colored people have been marginalized, why is the mayor, who represents the people of the city of Cape Town, taking us to court to ensure that the majority of Cape Townians don't work?
You need
You
to
see,
unpack that a little. You need to unpack that a little further, because I can't also quite understand what was the core of the case. What was the merits of the case, taking you as a party to court because you're trying to get young people employable. What was their case based on?
the safety risk to business and consumers and consumers as if we are a bunch of thugs. That's what they cited. But I want you to understand what I'm saying. We were doing the mayor a favor by getting his actual constituents jobs,
Mm.
and he took us to court because the Democratic Alliance is not in favor of colored children working. It's not what they want. It doesn't suit the Zionist system. You see, to the DA, the colored child is the Palestinian child. More of the same. It's a threat that they can't tolerate. We're not dying fast enough. So they accelerated. They accelerated by unemploying us, by keeping us undereducated, by keeping us hungry and homeless. This is what they do. Understand that over 10,000 children in this Western Cape cannot find schools this year. All of them colored.
What does the DA say about it, and what are you going to do to change the status quo?
Can't hear you?
What are you, Fadiel Adams, going to do to change the status quo to get kids into schools? And what sort of promises are the DA making regarding getting kids educated, getting them into schools?
Okay, so here we go. On a daily basis, our activists are approaching principals all across the Cape Flats with
Hmm.
parents, asking, begging, pleading, because we can't threaten to allow these kids into school. On a daily basis, a handful of these boys and girls are getting into schools daily. You cannot ask me about the DA's promises because I stopped paying attention to it many years ago, because they've never push through on a single manifesto province, ever, ever. And if you think I lie, at the last election, Alan Wynne promised us a provincial train service and a provincial police force, knowing we didn't have the powers to push through either one of the two, not constitution. But the promise was made on a poster, and colored people fell for it. What we're all about right now is educating our people to the things that can and cannot be done, the things that can be said and can't be said. For too long, these people have said whatever they want to, and we've lapped it up as the truth. We need to stop worshipping these people. That's our biggest problem.
Okay, we need to wrap up. I've got my next guest standing by, but I do need to ask you one or two very important questions regarding your manifesto. How are you going to address the employment problem? How are you going to eradicate gangsterism and drugs? How are you going to, I've heard you saying that you're going to, you go to schools all across the Western Cape, trying to get as many kids into schools because you negotiate with the school principal. So you're very proactive on that issue. But the other two issues are huge: employment and eradicating gangsterism and drugs.
Okay, so everybody knows our stance on employment, so I'll start with the gangsterism and drugs thing first of all. We need to educate. That's first. But we're not going to educate when a DA pushes our children out of the school benches. So in order to kill off gangsterism, we need to make people understand that it starts at home. Too many of us, our parents on the Cape Flats, we're sending our children to school to learn manners. Manners starts at home. You know, when they took away our jobs as boys, as men, they took away our manlyhood. That's why there are so many absent fathers out here. We need to get all of that back in place. However, we also need to understand that hurt people, they end up hurting people. And how
true.
is the community in trauma?
Mm-hmm.
When I tell you trauma, 6, 8, 9-year-olds should not ever be exposed to the sight of their Buddha laying on a street corner with his brains on the side of the pavement.
Sure.
Gangsterism under this regime goes nowhere. Would you believe me when I tell you that with 500,000 drug addicts walking around in Cape Town, there isn't a single drug prevention program at primary school level yet? Would you believe me if I told you that with 500,000 drug addicts in Cape Town, the Democratic Alliance in their last budget in the city of Cape Town did not put a cent towards social development? Not one single cent. If you want to know what our manifesto is going to be, you'll have to come to the launch. But I'm just letting you know what we're about. I don't know if I've answered your question because I know you're pushing for time away.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we need to wrap up there. One final question. Are you confident that the colored people are going to come out in their droves to vote for the NCC? And how do you believe that the Palestinian situation is going to work in your favor to get you the votes?
Okay, I'm going to start off with the Palestinian issue. I don't want anyone voting for the NCC on the back of the Palestinian issue. I don't want. Palestine, to me, is a human rights issue. It's a big human rights issue. I don't... Yeah, that's the one thing. The second thing is, when we went into the LGE in 2021, with a budget of 62,000, no posters, no sweaters, no nothing, no advertising, nothing. The Democratic Alliance told us we need 1 million rand to get one seat in council. We took 62,000 rand, which was food for our volunteers, and we won 8 seats. We are confident that our people will support us again. Remember, we were an unknown party. I think we're a little bit better known now. I think we've grown a lot. I think we're ready. But I can tell you that when we take our place, our rightful place at the big table, we will be demanding 50% of all jobs be reserved for colored people in the Western Province. Because there's a constitutional court ruling that says something similar. But all forms of government have just ignored it. Colored people must understand something. We are going in there to fight for them as if it's our last day. And there's no compromise on that.
Well, good luck to you. I do hope and pray that they come out in their droves, because this is in the interest of the people of the Western Cape. And we're going to watch this space very, very closely. So thank you indeed for being with us on the show this morning. Wish we had more time to talk with you, some more to unpack and go deeper into these issues. But I'm sure we will talk again. You keep well, and assalamu alaikum to you. 9:35 News and Views on Salam Media. Standing by to talk with us is Donovan Williams, and we're going to be looking at the situation, the second anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine. So we'll get to that interview in a minute or two.